I'm pumped for this. I think there are a lot of people here, a lot of people, these three people that you see in front. They come from diverse backgrounds, right? We've got people coming from business, from music, from comedy and sketch. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion, the reason why I wanted to bring these specific people in for this session is because they're bringing in a lot of unique thought and strategy approach to the way that they have looked at their career, and the success that they have found has been, there's a lot of similarities. You're gonna hear a lot of trends coming from their discussion, but you're also going to hear some things that are unique and different. And so this is one of the things I'm excited for in this panel is to explore both those things that overlap, but also those things that don't, that are unique, specifically as it pertains to the process of creation or creating, and with those creative works, turning it into a business and going kind of from creators to influencers. And although it's not so much like, you see oftentimes the word influencer with some sort of quotes, like it's a negative thing. But I really want to talk about that journey today and what that looks like for each of you and how you've experienced it, and also how each of you have navigated that with others as well, because it hasn't just been you guys. You guys have been doing a lot of collaborative projects and brand deals, and there's just so much. There's a wealth of experience and history here with this group. So I'm super excited to have these people here. Stacey, you too, man. I'm so excited you're here too. We have some.
Just me.
How about you?
He's not excited about deals.
So actually, Stacey and I go far back. Our first project we worked on together was with the LA Clippers, and this was like 13 years ago. So we're old.
We're all old.
He's like, talk for yourself, 12, man. Okay, a little bit, some background here. Zoe Hartsfield coming to us from Apollo, which is a sales and marketing tech company. One of the biggest in their space. If you're familiar, I'm sorry to throw out a competitor, but if you're familiar with Seamless AI and Zoom Info and some of these, they're better, right? Right, Zoe? Yeah. That's how I keep friends. So head of evangelism and influencer marketing at Apollo. She's a sales thought leader and executive ghostwriter and GTM consultant for early stage SaaS startups looking to leverage community evangelism and influencer marketing in their GTM strategy. She also, herself, you could say, is an influencer. So not only working with influencers in influencer marketing, but an influencer herself. Many of you probably will recognize her from her works and content on LinkedIn. So that's Zoe. Zoe, let's give her a hand. We're excited you're here. Stacey did not write me a mark.
Wow, just exposed me like that.
But I will say, I'm going to just give a little brief bio, and then he's going to share some of his own bio on his own. So aside from our work with the LA Clippers, there's some love triangle happening with some of our connections and friends.
I didn't think we were going to get into that right
now. From college days. But starting out with a Divine Comedy kind of sketch, we're going to throw this out there. Anyone here ever heard of Divine Comedy?
Yeah.
What? Wow. This is awesome. I love that. Really? That's incredible.
I don't know if we need this, right? Can everyone in the back hear me? Hear me well? Yeah, I don't know if we...
Well, we're going to keep it for the videos.
Oh. Okay.
So we're filming.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh, got it. I appreciate the intimate approach, though.
It's just us, guys.
It's just us. Put down the mics. Okay. So Divine Comedy, and then, which I love seeing how many people here are familiar with that, and then going into Studio C, and then on to JK Studios with a little bit of jumping back into Studio C, a little touch
a little back and forth, a little collabs.
Throwback. Yeah, those are fun. Give us a little bit more.
Yeah, so basically Divine Comedy was a sketch comedy group I was a part of in college. It grew in popularity, and network BYU TV picked us up, and we did a show called Studio C, and it grew in popularity. It's like before us, the most popular show was like Fawns and Porter's Quilting. So it wasn't much competition. Someone was like, anything else, I love it. But the show grew in popularity, and after that, we ended up leaving and starting our own company called JK Studios, where we make content and try to make a living. And it's been a cool opportunity. We've had a chance to perform with Keenan from SNL, and Conan O'Brien had us on. He's a fan. And we did a show with NBC. It's just we've had some really cool opportunities to grow, and also a lot to learn from going from like making sketches with friends to, you know, working with bigger networks and making a company.
That is like the thick of what I want to talk about today, is that journey of going from sketch comedy with your friends to working with big networks like this. And just the idea, the concept of that, and not only for yourself, but also as everyone here, almost everybody here is going to be in marketing, and how you can leverage these principles maybe for yourselves, but also for your organizations. And for any type of, you're doing any type of influencer marketing yourself as part of your strategies, we'll talk about that. That's how it's going to be relevant to you, is how do you work with these individuals, but also how can you learn from them to apply to your own brand, to your own persona, and so on. So, okay, thank you. Incredible. Hand for Stacey, please. Cool. Hey, and then Shaun, we have a lot of history too.
That's right.
So Shaun and I, we go back to, these are the days when companies were trying to decide if they should be on Facebook. And if that was a smart strategy for a business, and they were trying to figure out if that was what they wanted to do. So we worked with we started a social media marketing agency together called Post Primer. And this was back far enough behind where we don't need to tell the exact dates.
2015, maybe?
Come on, man.
Yeah.
It was before that.
It's a
That's okay. Anyhow, so that experience, that's where we really met, and we started in the social media marketing world. And we worked with a lot of really incredible brands. And then really been following your music career. He's had an incredible music career, in which I'm going to ask you to go a little bit deeper on. And film, YouTube, and now an accomplished author. So just a lot of cool things, a lot of creative works. Tell us a little bit more. Give us some more backstory.
I just like to try a lot of different things. I think it's important to exercise creative outlets for everybody. And if you haven't ever written a book, I highly recommend it, because it's just quite the experience. But I was on American Idol in 2007. So that dates me quite a bit right there. I'm old. That's fine. I got, I toured for about 8 years, and then I just, pushed my music career for a long time. Did the YouTube thing. I was actually one of the first on YouTube with Lindsay Sterling. She and I were doing videos together for a while, and I got talked out of doing those videos by Sony. Lindsay kept going, and we all know who she is, right? So I got talked out of that. Like Sony said, they're never going to respect any musician who does YouTube videos. I'm like, okay. Anyway, so then I went into live streaming with Facebook when they launched that, and tried that out with a musical comedy duo called Spidey Beats with my friend Billy Mann. Do you know Billy? Yeah, Billy was Deadpool and I was Spider-Man. This is when I was without the dad bod right now. I actually fit in a Spidey suit a little bit better. I don't fit in it now. But anyway, just random stuff, random things. And then most recently I wrote a musical fantasy book series where it's got the QR code in the book itself. You scan it, takes you to the music. Interactive book with a full cast audio book. And I'm always just trying to push those creative boundaries, which I think everybody should do, because everybody is innovative, everybody is creative, and it's just amazing when you actually apply that. It's quite, we're building worlds with it, That's what we're doing. So it's really fascinating.
Between the three of you, we're talking billions of impressions here, multiple billions. So this is a big hitter crew, and I'm stoked for the conversation. And where I want to start it out is, I want to hear a little bit about that transition point when you're moving from, I'm a creator, creating things, sketches with my friends, posts on LinkedIn, music in the basement, whatever it is. And there's a lot of intentionality in this group, not only in the makeup of the people, but also in the diverse industries. Right? We want to look at perspectives from looking at different spaces. I want to know about that transition point where you really started thinking in your mind. That's where thinking happens. Sorry.
Thinking in your heart.
Where you're taking it and you're saying, this is a business now, and I have to get serious, and I have to make some changes. I'm not just a creator anymore. I'm not just I'm a bona fide business person, influencer, whatever you want to call it. But there's a transition point, and I want to know, what was that? I don't know, like a realization, epiphany, maybe you could call it. And then, what was that experience like for you?
Here, we'll start with Zoe. I'm holding the mic too long.
This is a good question. I think for me, I never had any intention of being a creator or being an influencer. I was a senior in college, I don't know, 4 years ago, I guess, and I was working full-time as an SDR, sales development representative at a software company, and we sold a video product. So I started giving away my best tips on how to sell with video on LinkedIn, and people started paying attention to those stories. And then I started telling stories about my experience as a woman in tech, and people really started paying attention to those stories. And then I started writing every day, and then 50,000 people were paying attention to those stories on a regular basis. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe I have something to say. And it took me a couple of years to really realize it, but I think that moment for me was when I signed my third brand deal, and it was for me, I was able to replace my income from my W-2 with just writing on LinkedIn for 3 minutes a day. And so people don't see the work that went in before that. They'll look at that and be like, oh, Zoe, whatever, has these brand deals because she creates content. But I spent 3 years figuring out the algorithm, learning what people wanted to see, trying to give first and not expect anything in return. So becoming an influencer was really an accident. I was just trying to help people be better at selling. And then people were like, Zoe has something to say. So I think it wasn't as strategic in the beginning. I got very strategic, but there's sort of a beginning of share your story, try and help people. And then people started asking me. They saw me as an authority on a specific subject. And I just kind of got deeper and more tactical and more helpful. And over, then brands were like, Zoe speaks to a lot of salespeople. We sell a sales product. Maybe we could pay her to talk about our product. And then that sort of came naturally after that. So I started leaning into it and dedicating more time to it. And then luckily for me, I got to be an influencer and then build out an influencer program as my job. I got to write my job description for the company that I now work for. They were like, what would you want to do here? And I was like, I would want to build out this program. And they were like, great, write the JD. And then they gave me that job that I wrote for them. So it's kind of cool. It does become a career. I like that I get to work both sides of it. But the moment was when I was able to effectively, I could have quit my W-2 to just create content that helped people. But I don't think you ever stop being a content creator. I think I still see myself as a content creator more than I see myself as an influencer.
Question for you. What made you, sorry, I'm just going to take over this panel real quick.
This is my job.
I'm taking notes. What made you, before all the change started happening, before the brand deals, what made you invest your time into that kind of work?
Oh, this is so good. I would get DMs from people who were 6 months behind me, 2 years behind me in their career, being like, that tip booked me meetings and got me to my number. That tip helped me close this deal. Getting the DMs and the actual stories from people being like, thank you so much for sharing that, script that you used on that cold call or whatever. And it was for me, just helping change individual people's lives. I think sometimes I get in my head, I work in software, I'm not curing cancer, I'm not doing anything that cool. But I don't know, helping people pay their bills, helping people be better at their jobs, giving people confidence, that really fills me up. And so I just kept creating really from a place of can I help somebody be better today? Can I make their day better? Can I make them better at their job or make them more confident or something like that by sharing my own story? And one of the things that I actually write about a lot, which isn't very business focused, and then is I write a lot about mental health and my journey with mental health. And I never would have thought that would have become like a business opportunity. And now I have 2 brand deals with mental health companies that are like, please like elevate our services that, you know, like can actually help people. And so I think there is an intersection between like your passion, the product your, you know, company sells, and the problem your prospects are facing. And if you can find that sweet spot for content creation, there is business opportunity for anyone.
Oh, I love that. I was in college just. A friend of mine was like, I want to audition for this sketch comedy group. And I was like, get a real job. But he was like, will you do it with me? And I was like, yeah. My plan was to go to college and be a lawyer.
Me too,
I know, my parents are so disappointed. My dad still is like, you can change your mind. I'm like, nah, Dad, nah. And I just started being involved with this sketch comedy group. I had to pay. It was like a credit to be in the class. So I paid to do it. And it was just fun. I just had a good time. It made some friends. We'd put these shows on. The show started selling out within like an hour. And we're talking like, you know, it was like 400 seats and then 800 seats. And we were like, this is kind of cool. And we're all just like studying whatever our little majors are. I was doing PR and marketing. And eventually someone in the group was like, oh my gosh, like we might be sitting on something. Like people are showing there's a demand for this. And we have some sort of influence from us just like goofing around. But at the same time, we put hours and hours into this craft of like refining our writing, learning how to perform. And I know it, when you see it, you're just like, oh, these guys are being goofy. And it kind of looks easy because people have told us that. They're like, oh, we can do it. And we're like, hey, good luck, do your thing. Like, power to you. But we put so much time into just this craft of like having fun. And so by the time we were approached by the network, or we pitched it to the network, we were in a place where our skills were refined and we were ready to like take it to the next level. And we kind of changed the game at the network we were at. They'd never experienced anything like us. It was kind of mind-blowing. And we were their first, they had put like a choral video on YouTube, and it was like the Mormon Tabernacle Choir singing like, Be Still My Soul or something. And then they were like, well, we have a YouTube channel. And so next to it is like these dumb sketches. And it took no time for our sketches to start racking up. Like, you know, our spread on the network was like limited to the people who watched. And then when it became, you know, with internet, it was like thousands and thousands of people were watching it. And then, you know, we had a sketch go viral. Scott Sterling, has anyone heard of Scott Sterling? Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was one we did, and it just like ESPN was covering. And at that point, I talk about this all the time, where it was so great that people found us after we had been creating for a while, because we had a library of content. Mm-hmm. So when people found us, often people are like, we got to put on, you know, this first one, let's launch it. And I'm kind of okay having like, you know, a couple eggs in the basket, a couple like, you know, a little bit in the library. So when people finally found us, it was like, we could really ride waves. We had just like so much content people could just consume, and everything kind of grew from that. Yeah. Cool. I don't even know if I answered the question. We'll loop around, I'm sure.
I don't even know, but
That was probably
that.
good.
I think the main takeaway that I see the overlap with is we had been refining our game way before people even knew who we were. We weren't just investing in something because it had return. We were investing in something because we were passionate about it. And that naturally had the effect of like refining our game. Like we were becoming pros and didn't even realize it. We're just having fun, you know?
And like you said, people are always drawn to passion. And because you guys are passionate about it, people found it, right? I feel like for mine, failure has always been a great catalyst. Failure, you know, I try so hard to do something that somebody else wants, and then when that fails, I realize, well, what do I actually just want? In this case, it was Sony. I was working with Sony Records we were a signed rock band to Sony, and we were trying so hard to be this next Linkin Park. I actually got to rehearse next to Linkin Park before they were big. Before they had Chester as the singer, it was just a rap artist. And we were like, okay, we're going to be the next Linkin Park, because we're right there alongside them in L.A. This was in Hollywood and Vine, you know, the iconic street intersection. We were trying so hard to be something else. And Sony kept trying to give us these chances. For 3.5 years, we went back and forth with different producers, different studios. And then when after 3.5 years, they just came to us and said, we're done. That's it. We can't figure out what to do with you guys. And that failure was a huge catalyst for me, because then I was able to ask myself, well, do I even really want that? Do I even really want to be the next Linkin Park? And I didn't. I didn't want to be the next Linkin Park. In fact, it was totally unnatural for me to be that way. Even though I tried to scream, with my vocals, I have this bluesy sound that's definitely more like Michael Bublé. Michael Bublé does not fit a Linkin Park slot. I'm telling you, just no matter how hard he tries, he will not sound like Chester.
Stacey, I think there's some content on that for you.
There's something there.
That's right. That's right. You need to create a skit where Michael Bublé tries out to be the lead singer for Linkin Park. That'd be pretty hilarious. But failure was a catalyst to help wake me up to realize, what do I actually want? And so I went on my own solo tour from there and realized I don't even need Sony. I don't need the record label. There's actually a lot of avenues now where I can be my own artist and do my own thing. And that's what I did. I ended up writing my own music that people didn't chop up anymore, because that's what they always did before. They'd take my song and they'd just rip it to shreds, take 4 bars out of it, and say, we're going to loop this. And I'm like, no, that's not the song, though, you know? But that's the record label way, you know? And now I had full autonomy here. I had creative control. And with that, I was able to finally make my own stuff the way that I wanted to make it. And once I was able to do that, I was passionate about it, and that passion drew people in. So I feel like anytime we try really hard to audition for something or interview for something or because we see that that's already a successful lane, we want to join that successful lane, but that failure can be the catalyst to something way bigger and better. That happened. That worked for me. I think that answered the question, right?
Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Once again, I'm here getting information too. It sounds like you've been like adjacent to a lot of people who have like been sprung into like a lot of popularity. How do you has that been discouraging? And then how do you like push through that discouragement?
Oh yeah, that's great. Definitely like seeing all these other people launch in their own way and then still putting along behind them. Yeah, you have to be resilient. Learning resilience is the key. And no matter what, everybody fails. Everybody has their setbacks, their disappointments. For me, I actually found my resilience through just creating. I feel like every time I create a new composition or I write a book, I always have a new excitement, new passion for something, and I'm able to channel it. And so I've always managed to find my own success throughout the whole thing to where I look back and say, mine was actually great. I wouldn't trade mine for theirs because they had a different road than mine, and mine was still successful. It just was a different kind. So I found a way to bounce back from those and then think outside the box and create a new avenue for me. That's kind of, that worked out for me.
Cool. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
I'd love to find out from the audience here, how many of y'all are creators who either have made this transition into having this be your full-time career or would like to one day? That's kind of your career path, you're interested in that. Can we do a show of hands, kind of want to take the creator path into influencer? Don't be shy, raise it up. Raise it up. Okay, cool. And then on the other side, how many are on the marketing side who are working with these types of creators, more on an influencer marketing strategy type side? Okay, so there's more on that side of the spectrum, but I think it's important for all y'all who just raised your hands, who work with these creators, to understand the perspective and views from the actual creators. I think that gives you a lot of power and context to understand where they're coming from and the challenges they face in these transitions. Because I guarantee you guys can back me up, guys. You guys are.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
He doesn't know. I'll just let Stacey take over. This is going to happen. You are going to find yourself working with influencers and creators that are going through that transition, and it may be rocky for both of you. Zoe, I think you could probably share some insights on that. We'll come to that in a second. And the reason I say that is because you do a lot of work with influencers, and I'm certain that you work with some and you're like, they get it. They know what they're doing. They're professional. They know how to do this. And you work with others and you're like, amateurs. They do not know what's going on here. And so I think that all of us are here. Maybe I'm making some assumptions here maybe, but we're here to learn. We're here to develop and to connect and to grow. And so my assumption is that there are probably things about this specific topic that would be really beneficial to you, specifically as it pertains to working with these influencer marketers or influencers. So let's get into this, if that's cool, if you want to go this route. Can we go this route? Yeah. You tell me if you want to divert, because this is for you guys. Change the speakers. Give the mic to Stacey and sit down. Okay, so here's, I'm really interested in this too, and I hope y'all are too. I'm interested in the side of how do I, and I want to look on both sides of the spectrum. As a creator, how do I approach working with a brand effectively? And then I want to reverse it. And I want to say, okay, I'm the brand. How do I approach working with an influencer and do that effectively? What does that brand deal look like? How do I communicate with the influencer? What should I expect? What am I asking for? These are some of the things that I think that would be probably pretty helpful to this group. So let's take that route if we can.
Okay, I love this question. Who here has ever worked in sales? Yeah? Okay. Who here has written a cold email? Cool. Get good at cold email. I have cold DM'd and cold emailed several brands, and that's how I've worked with them. A lot of them will approach me. It's a sales funnel, really. It's inbound and outbound. You're going to get people seeing your content, and somebody like me who works at a software company is going to be like, oh, Stacey has this great brand and has this audience, and that's who I'm selling to, and maybe we could do something together. So when you're visible, when you're helpful, and when you have an audience, this is why I actually really encourage people to have a niche. I know people are like, ugh, niche down, but it makes way more sense for me to invest marketing dollars into someone who is speaking to a group of people that I'm trying to sell to. If you have 100,000 people who are not very engaged and in a variety of roles that maybe can't all buy my product versus 10,000 people who are all my buyer and are hyper engaged with you, that's a way better investment for me as a marketer when I'm trying to make that argument to my CFO. So think about it first in terms of like, who are you talking to and what is your area of expertise? What do I go to Zoe about? Those brands are gonna come to you. I write about sales and marketing and mental health. I work with sales, marketing, mental health, and project management tools. That's it. That's who brings me on. I'm just now hiring my first employee underneath me, and so I'm actually working with like a performance management tool now, but like there's, to that point, there's an overlap between your area of expertise and products that people want to sell. So first things first is just like be focused. If you try and be everything to everybody, you're nothing to no one. So that's one. The next thing is, get good at pitching yourself. Like you got to know what you're worth. You got to know what your audience is worth. There's some really easy ROI calculations you can do on CPM depending on your platform. Just like take a look at what people would pay for ads. Take a look at your engagement. I can look at my LinkedIn and see that I get 20 million impressions a year from people. And I know what people would pay for that based on my audience. And I can charge somewhere below that knowing that I'm gonna get a better conversion. And that's how I like price things out. So from the influencer side, you literally just pitch yourself. You come up with your own pricing. You're selling yourself as a product or service. And you would sell with value. Hey, I think this is how we can do it. I used to do free content for a brand. The way that I landed one of my brand deals was I was like, I already love this product and I use this product. I use the free version. I made a post about it. Here's 100,000 impressions I got for you for free. Do you want to see what we could do together if you paid me? And then
that's hot.
We signed a 12-month contract. And so like that's the way that I would do it, is just like give before you get and show results. People are often not willing to do the work for free. I'm a hustler. So I will do a lot for free to get the bag afterwards. That said, that's the way that I've done it in the past. As a brand working with people, I am looking for the people on the come up. I have found that the really big brands, people are like, here's my $10,000 price tag for my one post and I will not make any edits for you. I'm like, great, that's fine. Or I could go hire 5 people with, combined double your following and teach them a little bit. And I've actually picked smaller creators. I have a band of it. Like I've got people with over 100,000 followers. Does anybody know who Corporate Bro is? No? Corporate Bro? Oh yeah, okay. And then I've got, people like Corporate Bro who are maybe more like the mega influencers, like 600,000 followers, and then you've got people who have like 10,000 followers, but they're all who I want to be talking to. I'll partner with all of them in unique contracts, and I'll make it bespoke to their area of expertise, the platforms that they use. I've got one guy who has a newsletter with 40,000 subscribers, even though he doesn't have any social media presence whatsoever. I will partner with him in a different way than I'll partner with somebody who has an Instagram following, than somebody who has a TikTok following, than somebody who has a LinkedIn following. So I think it's about identifying that overlapping opportunity and figuring out how to elevate their brands. I always lead with, how can I make you look good? How can I help you achieve your goals this year? And when I was working with Ross, I asked him, what's one of your goals this year? And he's like, I want to throw an event. So it's like, great. Instead of paying you $100,000, I'm going to get my events coordinator to help you plan your first event, and we're going to sponsor it. And that's going to be the exchange. And so there's different ways you can get creative with your budget. But I would just say work with people. They're individuals. They have their own superpowers. They have their own audience. There's going to be an overlap between who you're trying to speak to and their subject matter expertise. And then, kind of build a program from there. That was long-winded. Sorry.
I think, especially from an influencer place, sometimes brands will reach out and it's they're playing this Dick Tracy business game, and they're hiding their cards, and it's ooh, maybe we should talk. That is so frustrating. Just give me the information, and that includes what you don't know. And so sometimes people reach out and they'll be like, hey, we want to do this thing, and they don't want to say that they don't know how to do it. And I'm like, you give me the information. Let me help you. And so sometimes playing the game is, I think, from a negotiating place that comes from I don't want to show my cards because I don't want to, but that really, honestly, that is takes the wind out of my sails, and I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to bamboozle nobody. I'm not trying to ruin my reputation in this information age where that happens, And so information, and on both ends, it's as a brand, if I'm reaching out to someone, I want to be this is what I'm dealing with. And it's not a take it or leave it, but it's hey, this is what I'm working with. Let me know if this works or it doesn't. This is our budget range. Sometimes that's depends on, how you want to go about that. But I feel if I smell someone trying to hold their cards behind their back, I'm we got to get through that quick, or this is going to be, a drag for me, and as an individual, or even my, company, my small company. Now, I think one of the biggest things too, is we were talking about this earlier, is I feel I've worked with brands before where they're oh, you have a lot of people. We want a lot of people to buy our stuff. We you do comedy, we sell dental software, let's team up. And I'm yeah. And I'm I do love getting paid, but I also want it to be effective. And so that overlap in that Venn diagram is so important. I think of myself as a circle, shaded one way. I'm yellow and this company's blue. Where's the green? Where do we overlap? Because that's where we're going to get the most bang for our buck, right? And so depending on what and I think that comes down to identifying your audience too. I remember thinking about that when we first started JK Studios, and we're man, we want everybody to laugh and watch our stuff. So when we go to Google Ad Spins, or we're using Facebook ads, we're gonna target everyone, and then everyone will be rich, whatever, I don't know. But that is such a poor method to such a poor way to use your money, to focus the limited spend you have to get conversion. And so when it comes to working with an influencer or working with a brand, I think, where are we going to have that perfect overlap? Where is my audience and your audience going to be wanting the same thing? And where can I give them that? And I will straight up tell people, I'll be listen, it's a bad date. It's you don't want me. You don't want this. Maybe it's not you. It's not me. It's just, you'll find the one thing, you'll find the right Tupperware later, whatever the saying is. But I think that's a big thing for me, is where is that overlap? And I recently was just talking to someone where I was let's have a little brainstorm on audience overlap, what we can create that will satisfy both of our goals. Love it.
So before we jump here, just want to double click on, we've seen both sides of this I don't know, spectrum maybe, where when you're looking as the creator, you're looking, because you went outbound as a creator, and on this side it is what brands do I overlap with? So you're identifying your ICP, your ideal customer profile, in that way. Who does my content jive with? Okay, so for you creators interested, And maybe this is elementary stuff, totally fine. Maybe there's some insights here, but that's how you find your people. Identify where you overlap. If you're on the brand side and you're looking for influencers, what we're hearing is don't just go for volume. Go for that green area where there's a lot of cohesion that actually fits your brand and their audience. Make sense?
And
that's you guys correct.
oh no, I think you're spot on. I think that, and I don't think that's sometimes it's cut and dry. Sometimes it does take a little creativity, and sometimes you find something really cool. Sometimes it can take some problem solving to be like, oh. Sometimes it's obvious. Sometimes it isn't, but it's important.
I mean, I think they answered the questions pretty well. I would say the one thing that I've been focusing on now, I don't do a lot of brand deals anymore because I'm focused more on my own products that I'm selling, like my own book. And so my wife, on the other hand, has a TikTok where she has about 600,000 followers, and so we decided to start monetizing that. And she's definitely more in a fashion and beauty space. So the easiest things that we've been doing is affiliate marketing, because I want to actually prove the model before I say, hey, go ahead and give us $3,000 for a post. You know, I don't know if we're worth that. So I told my wife, go ahead and do some affiliate marketing first. She does Pro Lash for one. That's her first one. So she does Get Ready With Me, and she does the Pro Lash videos, and she sells, and it works great. We can show like, oh yeah, each time she does a post, she sells this much volume. And so now I can go to Pro Lash and say this is what it's worth. Or if there's a competitor who wants to take her off of that brand. So I think affiliate marketing is a great segue for every brand, everybody. If you want to bring on an influencer, I would say try that first. If they're not open to it, if they're too big, okay, that's fine. But some of them are going to be willing to do that and just say, look, I can prove the model, and besides, I want back end anyway. And that's where the real money is anyway. I've actually noticed that we've gotten these brand deals, and the ones that she's gotten that were the biggest paychecks were from Netflix or Disney to promote a new TV show. Because she does have an audience that loves fandoms and entertainment. But the ones that actually make the most money are going to be the ones that actually contribute to buying something directly. Because we don't even know how many people watched, you know, the new Cruella movie or the new season of Upload because she posted about it. All we can show is like, hey, it got 100,000 views and this many likes, but we don't know if they watched the show. But with an affiliate marketing link and everything like that is so brilliant. All we got to do is say, buy this, here's your discount code, and we can show right out the gate, this is how much money we made you. And I think that's the perfect segue for bringing on new influencers.
I love that, connecting the influencer marketing and the affiliate marketing. We're getting close to time. I want to make sure that we have an opportunity to take some questions. Right now, let's go from the creator side first, and then we're going to go to the influencer marketer perspective. What questions might you have on the creator side?
How do you move from small paid gigs to a retainer that's a monthly retainer so that you don't have to work with so many brands?
Interesting question for the video. This is how do you move from a one-time deal to a retainer as coming from the creator side, so you don't have to be working with so many brands all at once. Okay, interesting question.
Who wants to take it? Me? You?
Yeah, whatever.
I mean, I think affiliate marketing is a great segue for that because you prove the sales. So they do come at some point and say, you're selling a lot for us. We want a retainer. I've noticed that, and I don't know, there's a few different segues for
so
that.
You can show consistency.
That really is the biggest thing is if they see success from your posts, then that's really where the retainers come in. I don't know who else wants to.
I was like thinking about this, and I was like, I don't know if I've been in that situation where we've gone. And then I'm like, oh, we've worked with, like, we pitched a show called, so with JK Studios, we pitched a show called Freelancers, and the company we pitched it with, Harmon Brothers, Angel Studios, loved it, and they had a great response. And I think it's kind of a little bit what Zoe talked about. It's like, show them it's worth it. Like, show the numbers. Make it like, do so well that they can't say no kind of energy. Easier said than done, right? Are we all trying that? But yeah, they love what we do and love working with us.
To answer that question a little bit, like just tactically from my experience, is turn it into a competitive situation. So I will like do one post and I'll show them the results, and then I will reach out to their direct competitor and say, like, this is what I can do in your market. This is what I charge. I've done that 3 times and tripled my rates. So like, I think that you just have to be really strategic as like a seller. You're selling yourself, you're selling results. Like, you just have to think about the ROI. And like you don't want to be like slimy about it. I think I would never reach out to a product that I didn't actually think I would use. That's like one thing is if you can't authentically create content, like if I don't feel good talking to my friend, being like, hey, like, would you try this product? I would never pitch it to my audience. But that said, like, I think there are a lot of really strategic ways you can make the argument. I've also taken my prices and done like a price break where I'm like, hey, normally I charge X amount per post. If you sign me for 6 months, I'll give you a 25% price break because it's nice for me to know that there is like consistency there. I can schedule things out. We can do like more creative things. That's the other thing too, is you pitch like a longer term, like serialized content is another thing that I've used to like create longer term contracts. So those are 3 sort of different things that I've done to get, 6-month, 12-month contracts, which is usually what I operate on.
I love those insights. Those are awesome. Yeah, sure. Let's do that.
It's power. I'm like, dang, girl, get it.
Let's go. Okay. Is this on the creator side?
It's actually on both.
Cool.
So I've noticed on both sides that when there's a post on any platform talking, like promoting a brand, those tend to do worse than like your normal content. So as a creator, how do you balance like actually integrating it naturally, making sure it performs just as well as your other content? And then on the business side, how do you make sure the content you're working with the creator on is going to perform as well as like what they're telling you?
I've had conversations with businesses sometimes because they're like, hey, here's the script, and this is the best new sunglass pair. And I'm like, people want, like, my whole thing is, what do the people want? The people that follow me as a creator, what do they want from me? Like, what's their self-interest? Because they're not following me for me. They're getting something from me. And so if I post something that is not giving them what they follow me for, they're not going to engage with it, right? Obviously, once again, you want that overlap. And so sometimes for brands, it could be kind of like tricky when you're like, okay, I love that you gave me the 6-page script all about the technical aspect of the sunglasses. People just want to laugh and maybe see how they're helpful. I don't know, whatever that might be, right? But ultimately, it's like, where's the self-interest being met? I don't know.
I'll go on for this. I think if the post wouldn't stand alone as valuable, sans ad shouldn't be an ad. I think if you couldn't post it like without the product promo and it would be like solid value add content, it's a worthless ad. Because like people just aren't going to engage with it. They're not going to watch it. They're not going to be excited about it. If you come on and you're like, Apollo is the best tool ever. Here's 6 reasons why you should buy it. Like, that's garbage. What I coach my like influencers on is I'm like, give me something that independent of Apollo the tool would be valuable to a seller. Like, give me a script, give me a template, give me a cold call like opener that somebody would love. And then at the end be like, and by the way, if you don't have a dialer, Apollo is free. And by the way, if you don't have this, Apollo is free. And by the way, it's like just an add-on. It's another value add because we have a free product. It helps that we're PLG. But like, even if it wasn't, it's like, and by the way, if you don't have a tool, this is the one that I use. Or, maybe you have them do like a screen share where they're giving away something that would be tool agnostic. The advice, the value is tool agnostic, and maybe you just show it in the product and you're like, and I'm using Apollo. So that's the way I think about it from like a brand perspective. As an influencer, same thing. I'm always telling stories. All of my, like posts that are also like paid brand promotions are either stories or they're like templates. Like I'm giving away my best advice for free, and then I'm selling the implementation via a product that I'm promoting. And so it's like, you could do this tape and glue together with a G sheet, or you could pay $9 a month for this cool tool. Up to you. And yeah, I think if the post itself couldn't stand alone as something that people would be excited about, it's a trash ad.
Yeah, if you can't see the value in the creator, if you're like, they're dumb and have a bunch of followers, like give them the script, you're gonna drop the ball, right? If you don't see the value of what like their creativity or what they brought to the table to create the platform they have, you are missing something. Has anyone, and this is kind of an obscure question, but anyone seen the show Freelancers that we did with JK? Right, so we did the show, and we had ClickFunnels fund the first season. And I don't know if you are familiar with ClickFunnels, but they funded the show. And as the writers and the creators of the show, we wove their product in a way that felt seamless. Like it could have stood on its own. But they have a lot of exposure. We got millions and millions and millions of views per episode. And because it wasn't like ClickFunnels is gonna like it was like what our audience wanted. I love that note.
I mean, that's pretty. You guys already answered that one. It's same thing. Just it has to be an organic, original, idea that fits our channel. I mean, if it doesn't, then it's just not going to do well. So, I mean, I think they already answered the question.
Well, we're just about at time. We've had 2 fellas ask questions. Any questions from ladies? Sorry, my man. Bakers are cool too. He's a baker. Yes,
well,
please.
hopefully it's really quick. Besides products that you wouldn't actually use, do you have any other like personal rules about the people that you wouldn't want to work with?
I mean, there's a lot. Every influencer is going to have a different set of like maybe criteria or things. I mean, nobody wants to work with divas. Nobody wants to work with people who are just hard to work with. I think that's one of the biggest ones. Is you got to make it, friendly and don't be so demanding. I don't know. There's also I think my wife likes to stick with anything that fits within her demographic of, if it appeals to women in their 20s. If you're going to push a brand that's more targeted toward men in their teens or 40s or something, or it's Viagra pills or something, it doesn't make any sense.
Someone reached out to me about that. I was like, I'm 35.
We get a lot. Yeah,
I don't need those pills.
Man, they hit you up.
I'm going to be quick because I feel like Zoe would kill us. But like mental health wise, I'm like, if this is going to stress me out or cause a load that I'm like not excited about, bye. And ethically, like if I'm like, I just don't like, I do a lot of nonprofit work and because I care about like making a difference or whatever. But like if someone is directly and like, if I feel like I see harm happening, I'm like, no, just for my own soul. But
I think the ethical answer is the one that comes to mind for me. Like, I mean, you do a little bit of back channeling every time a brand wants to work with me. Like, I try and do a little bit. And I did have a partnership that I terminated after the company, like somebody posted a viral TikTok of a salesperson just like harassing a female prospect. And they were my biggest contract. And I was like, I would like out of this right now. Like, I can't represent a company that like thinks that this is okay. And it's, it's like, it's not like, I'm not a hero. It's just like, there's like some level of, you have to like be right within yourself. Like you are putting your name on this product. People will associate you with that product. And like, people trust me. People are renting my trust when they hire me as an influencer. There's a responsibility that I have there. And so I think that you kind of have to go with your gut. Like, would I have loved to have known that about that company's culture prior to signing a deal with them? Sure. I don't know exactly how you do that. My stopgap in the meantime is just like do a little back channeling before I sign on the dotted line. A lot of the companies that I work with are pretty early stage startups, so they haven't had major scandals just yet. But yeah, I think if a company is known for being trash and you take a bag from them, people are going to think you're trash. And so I think that's just like something to think about, to each their own. Like you have to make that decision for yourself. But for me, I think about it from the trust perspective. It's like if people are renting my trust, what does that say about me? And yeah, that was my answer.
We're in the information age. Like you can't hide it. Like if you're going a little like shady about how you're going about your work, it's gonna get out and it's gonna, it's just, you can't hide stuff anymore.
And I mean, same thing with like politics. You don't want to. That's a really hairy area, right? If you see that the brand is really advocating some politicians or whatever else, you're going to really alienate a lot of influencers just right out the gate. Most influencers don't want to have anything to do with either side, any of the politics, because they don't want to be branded that way. So there's ethics and politics, kind of religion, certain things that are like divisive, that make you like a really big, bold statement. Yeah, that's usually the things to avoid.
Well, I could geek out with you guys on this for many, many more hours. This has been a lot of fun. Guys, we got to close it down. Please give a round of applause.